What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Ride and Dad channel, or welcome back if you've never been here before. Glad to have you either way. My name is Chris. This is my Grom. Behind you is my 2020 Lowrider S. And today, you guys saw the thumbnail, you saw the title, we're gonna be installing a new air filter. Now, I know everybody loves the Camaro intake. They fanboy over that crap. And I'm not saying it's a bad intake. It's a good intake. It's been proven to be good. But I went a little bit of a different route. It's a little bit cheaper. I'm hoping it'll either give around the same performance or close to it, and then there's another small kind of cheaper part. We'll talk about that in a few minutes, but before all that, you guys need to see that beautiful intro, so let's roll it.
Riding down a YouTube channel, it's the riding down a YouTube channel, it's the riding down a YouTube channel, it's the riding down a thing that you found.
All right, so first things first, let me address the fact that I'm wearing a jacket. In my years of videos, you guys have probably never seen me wear a jacket ever on YouTube. And that is because I live in Florida and it sucks, and it's almost always incredibly hot, especially in the garage where I don't have like AC. However, this week has been in the 40s. The highs have been like in the low 60s, low 70s, depending on the day, and the lows have been like high 30s, low 40s. And it's pretty early right now. It's like 7 a.m. somewhere around there, so it's still pretty cold in the garage. I love it. I absolutely love it. It's great, so please, let's keep the cold weather for a little bit. All right, so KOSO air filter. Right now it's already installed because I'm really bad at filming intros because I always look like crap and I got crap all over me, and I just would rather get the stuff done and then come back and, get all dolled up and everything before, I film the actual intro so I don't look like a mess. So like I touched on, people generally do the Camaro intake, and Camaro is a good company. The intake's pretty good. KOSO is also a very good company. They market this filter as a race-only application, which is kind of something a lot of performance companies do due to EPA standards and wherever you are or they are, and they're selling and everything. However, this is also marketed as that because of how you can use it. So you can pretty clearly see you cannot see an air filter exposed on the Grom in its stock configuration. That is because there's a box. So that box, and I'll come and show you better, but basically there's a throttle body. And then from the throttle body, obviously air needs to get into the engine. There's a hose that goes into an air box. There's your actual air box, which is what houses your filter. And then there's a little hose that kind of sucks in the air. So that hose sucks it into the air box. Once it's in the air box, it passes through whatever the filter material you have is, and then it goes through the intake hose into the throttle body, into the intake side of the engine. What the Camaro does, and some other ones, is basically replace that whole setup with just a metal hose, or a metal pipe, I should say, from the throttle body onto a kind of cone filter, like your typical cold air intake, if you think about it in a car. That kind of filter, I'll put a little picture of it. And then that's it, pretty much. I mean, obviously you have like your sensor and stuff like that, but that's that's what the whole setup is. So this utilizes the stock air box configuration, but it gives you three choices, kind of. You can run it with the stock box cover on. It comes with extra screws for that because this filter is thicker than the stock filter. And then while you have that box on, you can run it with two different inserts. It comes with two different inserts. It comes with a low density and a high density foam. For my application, you'll see I talk about it a little bit more, but when I went ahead and switched it out, I put in the low density and I kept the box on it. Now, if you're like a hardcore just racing kind of thing or whatever, you could do the low density, which allows the most air to pass through, obviously a little bit less protection for your engine, and then not the top box cover. So you could just run full filter right out there with the foam. And I'm not sure if it's true, but from what I've read and understand, foam filters flow more air and are a little bit less restrictive than the typical like mesh filters, like you would like a K&N filter, stuff like that. Although the K&Ns have different applications, they all have their pros and cons, but in general, airflow, from what I've read and kind of come to understand, correct me if I'm wrong, but foam filters flow a little bit more air. So that is why they market this as like a race only. So you could basically take that top cover off the box and just run full filter, completely exposed to all the elements hitting it, but you get a incredible amount of airflow coming in there. I'd imagine way more than the Camaro intake, sucking it through a tube, because it would literally right there. In addition, right now this uses the stock box configuration. In addition to that, KOSO sells a tube and an adapter that has a larger hose size diameter to allow greater sucking in of air through that filter. So that'll help a little bit as well. It's something I may do a little bit down the line, but for now I just kept it simple, just did the filter. So like I said, you have two different foam options. You have the low density and the high density. I swapped it out for the low density, but you could do the high if you were doing like a lot of dirt applications, off-roading. I would say high is definitely better, but I know I'm not doing off-roading with this. I just put on some very on-roady tires. And then you can run it with the box cover on and off like I touched on. So you do have a lot of adjustability with this, and then future upgrade ability with that hose and some other stuff that you may see me do in the future. One of my next videos, you will see me install a big bore kit into this puppy. And to do that, I basically had to strip a lot of the bike off, including all the side fairing panels and everything like that. So while I was doing this, I actually filmed the install so I can get real up close and personal with what the filter looked like and how you install it in the actual airbox. So for my install, you'll see me with the airbox on my bench over there. But in a second, I'll bring you guys closer and kind of show you, walk through what you would do. You can definitely leave this on the bike to change the filter out. It's gonna be kind of a tight squeeze to get some of the stuff, but you can definitely do it. I believe Honda, I'm hoping they engineered it, you know, how it should be. You'll also see me compare side by side what the stock filter looks like and the KOSO filter as well. And then I'll actually show you how I swapped out the foam density inserts as well for that, put it all back together, and then obviously I put it back on the bike. But so before I show you the actual install of the filter in the airbox, let me bring you closer and explain what you would do if you left it, which is probably the vast majority of what you guys are gonna do, left it on the bike. All right, so this is the actual airbox. You'll I think you can kind of see there's a little red, that's the filter. So the red you won't see, but this is the stock airbox, and you will have to turn your forks, you know, different ways to navigate it. Probably a short screwdriver would help a lot, but you basically would just take these screws off. There's a couple screws all around it, and then this whole box comes off. Depending on how yours is set up and how tight the application might be, I'm assuming they're all slightly different angles from factory, but you might have to take this horn off, which is super easy. There's just one bolt holding it on the tree right there, the triple tree, the lower triple tree, and then just basically just drop it, make sure you don't scratch anything, obviously. So basically you'll just be able to take these screws off. If there's any screws, you have a little bit of fender play where you can kind of move the fender, or I'm sorry, not fender, fairing. You can move the fairing and kind of squash it out a little bit. So you can do that if you are a little bit tight, but other than that, you should be able to get all the screws. You basically pop that top off. There's one screw that holds the filter element in, which you'll see up close when we go over to the bench. Drop that old filter out, install the super cool KOSO new filter, put that one screw back on, make sure everything is seated correctly, put the top airbox cover back on, put all the screws back on, and like I said, you'll see again closer over there, but if you want to run it without the top box, you'll use the stock screws that came on the Grom, and if you want to run the top box cover, you'll have to run the supplied KOSO screws, which are longer. So yeah, you guys will see me take this filter, this whole box, which is really easy. There's just a hose in the back that you'd unscrew, and then it just kind of has like a little grommet that it pushes into, like a pressure friction fitting. But you'll see this whole box on the bench, and I'm gonna quit talking so you guys can actually see what this filter looks like. So let's go show you what I did to get this filter in there. So here's the airbox off of the bike. You'll obviously see the intake hose that goes to the throttle body, and then the hose that just sucks in air to the filter. can see the difference in terms of quality and also in terms of how much size you have for a filter actually letting the air pass through from the stock versus the KOSO. So like I said, I did change out the high density foam with the low density foam since I'm going to be riding only on the road and it's not a commuter bike, so I'm forced to kind of ride in heavy rain and stuff like that. And I'm also going to be running the top box cover over it as well. But like I said, for maximum airflow, depending on your application, you can run the low density filter and the cover off of the box. Once the filter's in, just use the supplied KOSO screws if you're going to be running the box cover, which are longer than the stock screws that came on the ground, or the stock screws if you're going to be running just the filter with no cover. And then I'm going to put it back on the bike, but yours will probably already be on it. Pretty simple, right? Like I said, you probably have just as easy of a time doing it on the bike, if not easier maybe, because you have something to hold while you're doing the screws instead of trying to finagle the box around and hold it. Because I gotta tell you, for being actual regular kind of Phillips or whatever the name is, I forget, like the Chinese or Japanese model of Phillips where it has like a little different insert. For being those kind of screws on this bike, all of those are in really, really tight. But I gotta give them points. Even, you know, everything so far that I've taken off, even if it's really hard to get off, as long as you just put a lot of weight behind it and push it into it when you're trying to unscrew it, they come off. They're actually pretty well-made screws. They're very sturdy. As far as horsepower and torque and improvement and everything like that, I'll take a picture, if I still have it, I think I still have it, of what KOSO has their like dyno numbers on. They have like a whole thing, and I'll post it up as I'm talking now if I found it. But I don't have a, you know, dyno that I'm going to run to and get for free, whatever. So I'm not doing it. Plus, I also, like I said, I currently have the big bore kit. You'll see that install either the next or the video after the next. Very close, so definitely before Christmas time. So I'm not really sure how much of a difference that filter will actually make. I do know that it is something that you definitely need. You may not necessarily need this specific filter, but you will definitely need a higher airflow filter if you want to have better performance from an exhaust, if you're going to do any kind of tune, and especially if you're going to do any kind of big bore kit or really any kind of engine modifications. All you will need some sort of higher airflow filter, whether it's a stock modification that I've seen some guys do, the Camaro intake that people fanboy over, which again is good. I'm not knocking it, but people friggin' love that thing. And then also something like this, the KOSO air filter. So a bunch of different applications you can do. Just make sure that you do a high airflow filter, some upgrade from the stock if you're doing more than just your standard kind of exhaust. And of course, you'll always get more performance out of your bike with an exhaust and an air filter coupled together anyway. That's going to be it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you guys got something out of it, you know, educational, you know, something like a how-to, or maybe you've never heard of this filter, whatever. But let me know in the comments what you thought of the video. Let me know what you have. Do you have a Camaro? Are you a Camaro fanboy, or are you just looking for a better air filter? Whatever it may be, let me know. I am super excited. I'm not excited to edit it because it's gonna be such a long process for editing because of how many video clips there are, but I'm super excited to show you guys the video of my big bore kit install, because not only did it go well, it was fairly easy, honestly. I impressed myself with how quick I got it done, having never had done anything like that before. But I think it's gonna be a really cool video to show you because I searched a lot, and the specific kit I got, I didn't see anybody do an actual full install video on it. What they did, I just saw, oh, do I like it? Oh, I rode 6 miles on it, so yeah, I like it. garbage videos. So make sure you hit the subscribe button. I would really appreciate that. You would be benefiting from really cool Ride and Dad content on YouTube. And if you turn the post notifications on, you'll always get a notification whenever I post a new video, which is right now twice a week, Wednesdays and Saturdays. And if you have a question, comment, concern, or whatever you want to just have a one-on-one conversation that's a lot easier to have, check me out on Instagram and send me a DM. I respond to everybody, so it's super simple to have a conversation with me on there about anything, or if you have some more detailed questions about anything you see on my YouTube channel. And stay posted because I have a lot of cool videos coming up. This Grom is going to be tearing it up in no time. Right now there's 2 videos on the screen. Go ahead and watch one or both of those. It would help me out and you'd be benefiting from watching some really cool content as well. Until the next time, guys, ride safe, have fun. Dad out.